En nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Good morning. I am one of those rare New Yorkers who loves pigeons. And yes, we do exist. And I get the relationship between my fellow New Yorkers and las palomas, or los pichones, as we call them, who are unfairly called ratas con ala, or rats with wings. One of our pastimes in my hood was sitting in the front stoop in front of our building, jangueando and catching up on the neighborhood gossip and all the bochinche. Yet, we developed the skill of peeking up quickly to spot any pigeon tails popping out from the rooftop, because that meant we were preparing for target practice. The sight of a wiggling or a fanning tail meant one thing: que te iban cagar, you're about to get pooped on. And of course, the bombing would stir up a chorus of vecinos saying, "Eso es buena suerte, ve a jugar un número." To which I would respond, "Suerte? You think that's luck? You go play the numbers. I got poop to wash off my hair. But remember, if you hit the number, it was on my luck, so don't forget, you need to pay forward." But aside from that, pigeons are associated with filth, with germs, with diseases. By many New Yorkinos, because they are scavengers, they eat everything they can find, and then they crap it on your windshield from the light posts. And then, of course, there's the stereotypical bird lady depicted in films as poor, unkept women in dirty, tattered clothes covered in pupu de pichon, who are always avoided. They're always frowned upon as sucios or asqueroso, untouchable. I thought they were cool. So like Bert, one of my favorite Sesame Street characters, I had a love for pigeons regardless. And it isn't their fault that they were introduced by humans to a foreign lands and they became feral, surviving any way they can. Humans created these conditions, but the palomas are the problem now, and they need to be exterminated. How very human. Siempre le digo a la gente that when you take a look beyond the reputation and see them por lo que son en verdad, you will begin to appreciate the very common, ordinary bird that they are. You'll find yourself less impressed by the fancy birds in the zoo que le caen a picotazo to the zookeepers, and will be intrigued by the gentleness of these birds. My abuelo, Gregorio Salinas, used to keep pigeon coops in our concrete backyard in New York of our New York City basement apartment. I used to love visiting them just to hear the gentle and soothing cooing. Nothing like the high-pitched squawks and the shrieks of the exotic birds. Just a gentle coo that drew me closer and closer to them. I could see the gentleness in their eyes. I watched the loving way that they cared for their babies. Their intelligence and their ability to live in harmony, en armonía, with one another, regardless of how different they looked from each other. They even recognized my abuelo, and they were cool with him. Abuelo Goyo, the one who once gave me a pichoncito of my own to raise. My friends thought I was weird for having a dirty pet pigeon named Pururu, who I taught to fly. They thought I would grow up to become a bird woman of some kind, and I didn't care. I love Pururu, but sadly, Pururu disappeared one day, el mismo día that my abuelo was eating pigeon stew. But that is another story for another sermon on forgiveness. Still hold the grudge. I will say this, I did learn a lot about life and about our humanity from watching the pigeons. And today, as we celebrate La Fiesta del Cristo Rey, I want to confess that I almost turned down the offer to preach this day. I almost turned it down because of what Western Christianity has turned the kinship of Jesus into, particularly in the American Christian nationalist movement that is so deeply rooted in white supremacy. Its influences has caused so much harm on many communities in our nation, the territories that it occupies, and nations south of an invisible line that we call a border. As a queer indigenous New Yorican, I have seen how the church has made use of this image of the all-powerful, blue-eyed Jesus, El Cristo Rey Gringo, to push and almost demand conformity to their own values by order of the king that is found in La Santa Biblia. I struggle con la idea of Cristo and the monarchy, juntos, because they've been interpreted to mean as a means to impose power and control over those not like them, those seen as beneath, those seen as pichones. Western culture likes to view everything through the lenses of dualism. Todo es blanco, negro, rico, pobre, mujer, hombre, with God or against God. Everything has its categories, and there's no room for in between. These categories pretty much boil down to this: winners and losers. As a recovering Pentecostal evangelical, I remember the central hope of our faith was the rapture. El día que Cristo, el Rey Blanco, would beam up all the believers who believed the right doctrine and belonged to the winning team. Then Christ the King and his armies would charge onto earth on horseback to destroy all those who did not believe in what we did. We had the little watch party. Then afterwards, there was the gran party for the winners who had it right all along. And this is exactly why I'm very cautious with churches and what they call ministries. Casi siempre, it's a mission disguised as a ministry, as a way of convincing that they are wrong and recruit them to the winning team. Pero escuche bien, mi gente. A mission says there is a problem with you, and you need to be like us. You need to be on the winning team. Cuando en verdad, a true ministry says there's nothing wrong with you. There's only something wrong in the world, and together we will strive to make it better. So así es que pa'lante, siempre pa'lante. I also remember how my faith and the other conservative Christians did not accept or like the crucifix, because para ellos representaba que Cristo había perdido, that Christ had lost is what it represented. They only loved the cross because it represented Christ's victory over hell and death, winning. So they passed over Good Friday. They fast forward to the resurrection on Easter Sunday because Cristo ganó, and now they were part of the winning team. This is why they love the image of Chewy coming out of the tomb on Easter Sunday, which I call Touchdown Jesus. The Jesus floating with his arms up, celebrating as if he had just scored the winning touchdown. So they circle around the winner, celebrating the big victory. El gol! No importa cómo lo quieres pintar, pero la verdad es que en la cruz, Cristo perdió. You can paint it no matter how you want to, but the truth is that on the cross, Jesus did lose. But then here's the good news, la buena nueva. He did lose, and that's okay. Because in losing, Jesus really won. Él ganó porque el reino de él no es de aquí. El reino de él plays by a different set of rules. He won in revealing to us what the kingdom of heaven really is. Or as Desmond Tutu once put it, the dream of God for all of humanity. A dream of a non-violent world of universal equality, igualdad, armonía, unidad, y paz. He did not win by conforming to the ways of this world, nor by seeking to be comfortable. He did not win by trying to preserve his privileges and everything that it could buy. He did not win by trying to fit in. He won by not playing it safe. He was the ultimate chingon who was unafraid to take a risk for his homies. The poor, the sick, the tax collectors, los tecatos, los pandilleros, the misfits, the Spanglish speakers, you know, the pigeon society. Jesus won by being a friend and not an ally. He knew that if he was going to chuck a stone for his community, he had to stand close enough to get hit by one. Unlike an ally, because that is what a friend does. And that's what he did on the cross. He took a hit for us, and he won. And to that I said, que chingón. Mi gente, para no hacerte la larga, we're coming up at a time where the winning team is strategizing how they can continue to build on their win at whatever cost. And as children of the kingdom, with Christ, El Rey Chingón, as our leader, it is our responsibility to preserve God's dream for humanity. To be the hope for those who are not on the winning team, como nuestro Señor Jesucristo. And so I want to close with these words by the prophet Micah, which I use as a roadmap to Christ's kingdom, el sueño de Dios para toda la humanidad, which reads, He has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Una vez más, ya te ha dicho, hombre, qué es lo que es bueno y lo que el Señor te exige. Tan solo que practicas la justicia, que seas amigo a la bondad y que te portes humildemente con tu Dios y que viva Cristo el Rey.